Gay vampires, cyborg Yazis, anthropomorphic pedophiles, and finally, racists. This is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and back when I was a wee little lad, the only anime I would watch was Naruto. I can't tell you why. I was retarded or something. I don't know. I was one of those Narutards. But that was up until one day I made a friend who was also into anime. And back then, that shit was rare. That was hard to come by. But nah, he put me onto JoJo's, and ever since then, it's been consistently in my top 5. And ever since I started my channel, I was like, hey man, I want to make a JoJo vid. But everybody done touched every part besides part 1. And I think part 1 is the most underrated part. Niggas are always saying skip it. Do not skip part 1. If you skip part 1, Dio's storyline will not hit as hard for you. I'm sorry, bro. Anyways, the show starts us off in Senchi's motherland, England, 1868. Basically, Jonathan's father got into a carriage accident. Driver died, wife cooked, but he survived. And this dude named Dario Brando, Dio's father, pulls up trying to jug these niggas.
Blimey, it seems a rich bloke met an unfortunate demise.
And as he's trying to steal off him, George wakes up and somehow confuses him for coming to his rescue. This nigga low-key retarded because you literally seen him trying to take off your ring. But as he's lying there, he asks if his wife and son are okay. And Dario's sitting there trying to play it off. He's talking about some,
nah fam, your wife dead as hell. Your son might be strict to honor.
Listen to me. My name is George Joestar. I must thank you. Please, sir, tell me your name. Nah, this nigga retarded, bro. He thinks I saved him. Dario Brando, at your service, sire. And George is like, not just me. The entire Joestar bloodline is in your debt, and not I. We owe you for saving my life. And this basically starts the chain events of the entire JoJo's franchise. If this nigga George was competent enough to see Dario's intentions, none of this would have ever happened. 12 years later, George's son is all grown up, having a great life. George rich as hell too, if y'all couldn't already tell. He got a maid and a butler to his side, and lives inside this big ass mansion. I'm trying to get like him for real. Then we cut over and see Dario's life, and he's fallen sick, and we're introduced to a young Dio. His father is pretty much a deadbeat, and he don't really give a fuck about him. And now that he's bedridden, old dude don't even trust medicine for real, because it's the 1800s, and back then medicine was like low-key ass. So he just makes him buy alcohol and shit. And during this time, we see parallels of both Dio's and Jonathan's lives. Jonathan right here, he got a silver spoon. He was born rich, and he has a loving family. Meanwhile, Dio is broke as hell with a deadbeat dad, and he's forced to gamble to make a living. And randomly, we cut to these weirdos bullying a girl. They stole her dog, and now they're trying to take its clothes off to quote unquote see if it looks like the real thing or something. I don't know. These niggas is weird. I don't condone this. But luckily Jonathan sees this, and like the good Samaritan he is, he rushes in and fights for her. But he low-key gets his shit rocked, and they start clowning his ass. Jonathan goes to wipe his bloody nose, and they peep that this nigga is rich, and they whip his ass for being a rich kid. That was unnecessary. They leave, and the girl tries to go see if he's okay, and he's like, I ain't do that for you. I did that because I want to be a gentleman or some shit. I don't know. British niggas be saying anything. We cut over to Dario, and he realizes he ain't got much longer to live, so he talks to his son. Dio, my time is almost up. Remember the retarded rich nigga I told you about? Give this to him when I die. He's gonna take you in. I believe in you, son. Leech off of him, become rich, and rug pull niggas with a mean coin. That's the method. Yeah, this nigga just aura farming. Look at him. He casually introduced himself to Jonathan. Then his dog comes out, and Jonathan's like,
"This my dog Danny, bro. He don't bite for real, bro. Chill, bro. He watch out, bro."
I could really slime the fuck out this
Leave me alone! Yeah, Danny ain't deserved that, bro. He did that shit for no reason. Jonathan squares up with him, but before anything happens, his dad comes outside to see what all the commotion was about. And this nigga Dio lying his ass off, saying, oh, the dog jumped at me.
Is this nigga serious?
And of course, Jonathan's gullible ass dad believes it. And even after that, he welcomes Dio into his home with open arms and tells him he's officially a part of the Joestar family. Then Jonathan goes to pick up his suitcase since he's a guest at his house, and this nigga Dio starts tripping.
Loco, what the fuck do you think you're doing, bro?
We're just trying to help, bro. Chill.
Use a little bitch now that I'm here. I run shit, little nigga.
What you mean, bro? We're just trying to be friends.
Hey, hurry y'all ass up.
My deepest apologies, sir.
The next day, Jonathan's out with his friends doing some type of public boxing tournament. He's supposed to fight this random, but for some reason, out of the blue, his opponent gets changed to Dio. This nigga wasn't even supposed to be here, but somehow he snuck into the tournament. So the fight starts, Jonathan charges in, but this nigga Dio on some shit. He dodging all of his attacks with ease. If y'all didn't know, Dio really from the trenches for real. At this point in the story, Jonathan had no chance against him in a hand-to-hand fight. So then Dio socks him in his shit for the victory, but something has to be genuinely wrong with him. He was sitting there planning to play dirty by jamming his thumb in his eye before his fist leaves the punch. And of course, as he lays him out, he gotta turn around and aura farm for them extra bounty points, you know what I'm saying? The crowd starts cheering, and now everybody glazing Dio. He done stripped Jonathan of all of his aura. Then he goes on a monologue talking about how he's gonna steal Jonathan's life, ruin his reputation, and by the time they're adults, he not gonna have a good thing going for himself. And this shit's already taken into effect, bro. This nigga Jonathan's sitting here chilling on a tree, and 3 of his old friends come by, so he starts waving hello, and these niggas completely ignore him since Dio made up a rumor that he's a snitch or something. Now Jonathan has no friends, his reputation is ruined, and his father thinks Dio's better than him. But hey, at least he has his dog Danny, and he has a growing relationship with Arena. But this does not sit right with Dio. He sees this nigga being happy again, and it gets under his skin. He wants absolutely zero joy in this man's life for whatever reason. So he's been plotting. After Jonathan left his meetup with Arena, he finds Arena walking home alone. Mistake number 1. How can you as a man let your girl walk home alone when you see it's clearly about to get dark? I'm gonna let him slide though, since Jonathan was like 12 or some shit in this. But Dio spots her and surrounds her with him and his goons, and he explains to Arena that Jonathan has been way too happy recently because of her, that he should stay miserable. Then for some reason, this nigga forces her into a kiss.
Fuck out of here, nigga! Alright. What the fuck wrong with you, boy?
I be fucking with haters sometimes, but this is just too far. Dude just violated a girl just because a nigga he don't fuck with is dating her. And then he gonna start flexing the fact that her first kiss was with him instead of JoJo. Arena starts to wash her mouth with literal mud water. Dio finds this disrespectful and slaps her shit and dips. Then the next time Arena sees JoJo, she's avoiding this nigga. And coincidentally, the dudes who were with Dio were right there, and they started making fun of him. And somehow Jonathan instantly knew Dio did some shit. So he runs all the way home screaming this nigga's name. He's had enough. Without even knowing exactly what it was, he charges in on him. But Dio maneuvers out the way and elbows the shit out of his mouth. He reminds JoJo of exactly what happened last time when they boxed, and he just sits there thinking, if he loses right here, he gonna spend the rest of his life getting tormented by Dio and living in the shadow. But at the same time, he gotta put hands on this man for whatever he done did to his girl. So he chooses the latter, charges him again, Dio blocks, and knees him right in his jaw. JoJo recovers, grips his dome, and headbutts the shit out of his teeth. He got his eyes rolling the back of his head. Now that he's a little lightheaded, he starts wailing on this nigga. And Dio is literally pissed right now, wondering how a dude like JoJo could hang with him. Jonathan rocks his shit and he starts leaking. Then Dio starts crying, trying to get Jonathan to let his guard down, and whips out an entire Zonpak toe. And this shit just reminded me these niggas is from the UK. I forgot they be randomly pulling out knives during fades. But before the fight gets any worse, JoJo's dad yells from on top of the staircase. He talking about something.
Boys fighting can't be helped. Shit happens. But JoJo, you were beating his ass while he was down. That is disgraceful. Go to your rooms right now.
Later on, Arena is still not talking to JoJo. This nigga goes to the spot where they always meet up at, and she just ignores him. And on top of that, Dio put Danny into a furnace and packed him up. I don't know what's up with him and animal cruelty, bro. This nigga think he a Sonic. But he pretty much got what he wanted. He ruined his reputation, took all his friends, got his girl to stop talking to him somehow, and killed his dog. Jonathan has got all the reason in the world to become a villain. And now, we get a 7-year time skip. It is now the year 1888, and somehow, this nigga Jonathan put all their differences aside, and now they're friends. They done grew up, and now Jonathan's sitting out of the calm 6'5", 230, and dominating niggas in football. American football, which is surprising since these some British niggas. They usually love soccer. This dude Jonathan tough as hell though. He got like 8 dudes hanging on him, and he still got that touchdown. Anyway, these niggas grown as hell now. Dio studying law school and Jonathan studying archaeology or some shit. They mad studious, you know what I'm saying? But now after they win that football match, Jonathan starts to think,
Blimey, it's been 7 bloody years since my father adopted Dio, and I've been forced to pretend that I like him. But I cannot excuse the fact that he murdered Danny in cold blood. What do I do?
And coincidentally, in that moment, some reporter walks up to Dio and asks him what his friendship is like with Jonathan. And he's all like,
Man, I've been playing a long game for real. I don't give a fuck about no Joestar. As soon as I graduate, all you niggas get slime.
but luckily for him, George Joestar has fallen sick. So he's all like,
Oh father, are you alright?
but Jonathan sees through this shit. He knows something is up. He just can't prove it just yet. This dude Dio is spewing straight nonsense and propaganda saying, oh, you shouldn't go to the doctor. They just be robbing people for real. They don't cure shit. And I'm not gonna lie, he might not be fully lying for real. This is the 1800s. Niggas was dying at the ripe age of 25 to the common cold. Also, ever since that one time Jonathan and Dio fought in the mansion, Jonathan been testing out and studying what the stone mask's purpose truly is. Since when Dio's blood got on it, it started retracting spikes out of it. But as he's looking through their library, he drops something and he stumbles upon the letter Dio's dad sent Dio with. And he finds out this entire time, Dio has been slowly poisoning their father with fake medicine in order to kill him faster and inherit the will. He figures this out because in the letter, Dario explains his symptoms, which are the exact same name as Jonathan's dad. So he confronts him, and this nigga Dio tells him, if you doubt the medicine, you doubt our friendship, and they will no longer be friends. Nigga, fuck you. Their whole relationship been fake the entire time anyways.
Put it on God, you ain't trying to poison my dad, bro. Man, fuck that.
Just like that, he proves to Jonathan he is in fact trying to kill his dad, and he killed his very own father the exact same way. Jonathan grips his wrist and declares that he will defend his father in his Joestar name no matter what. Grabs Dio by the shirt and throws that nigga down them stairs. But instead of informing his father, he tells his father that he's going to London for a few days in order to examine exactly what Dio was giving him and to not take any medicine from that nigga and only take it from the doctors on standby. While he leaves, Dio instantly travels to where he keeps that stolen mask stored, and he plans to chase down Jonathan and force the mask onto his face in order to finish him once and for all. Since he remembers the mask reacting to his blood once in the past, he's gonna try to frame it up to be an accident or some shit. 2 days later, Jonathan is still looking for answers behind the strange medicine, and he gets warned to never go down Ogre Street, London. Ogre Street, London is basically the old block of this verse. Never go to Ogre Street, London. But he has to go to Ogre Street, London. Dio's from there, and that's likely where he got the medicine from. But then he goes there and he randomly gets caught lacking in the alley. And these street thugs start running at him. And one of the goats of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Speedwagon, just so happens to be one of the thugs in question. This homeless crackhead attacks him first, but Jonathan literally grabs his knife. He thinks shit's sweet, and he tells him all he gotta do is swing, and his fingers are all gone. This other nigga jumps in and he gets bitch slapped, and Jonathan disarms the crackhead at the same time and pushes them both back. Speedwagon think he really tough for real. He got top hat modifications. Like realistically, what is that gonna do in a fight? Jonathan kicks a knife into the air. That shit don't do nothing, and he gets his shit cut to the bone from Speedwagon's hat. Speedwagon boasting and shit, but Jonathan is not phased. He rushes him down and kicks him right in the jugular. And before he even hits the ground, he got himself thinking he's not built for this. And as soon as he actually hits the ground, the entire London Sarate pulls up trying to get back. And notice how everybody got a Zompacto equipped. JoJo's for that accurate British representation. He tells all them niggas to stand down because Jonathan is such a gentle game recognized game. After that, he and Jonathan become homies. Then we finally cut back to Dio, and he's pulled up to London. He's walking and drinking, and he runs into these two bums talking shit. So he retaliates, busting this nigga's mouth open. His friend starts to pull his knife out, and Dio decides this may be a perfect time to test out the stone mask before he tries it out on Jonathan. Dude charges in, weave, places the mask on his dome, drives him down, and slices his friend's neck to get some blood onto the mask, and this nigga doesn't die. He turns into a vampire. It grips up his neck trying to drain his life force, but luckily as that happens, the sun rises and it dies. He runs back home thinking JoJo got slimed in Ogre Street, London or something, but then he walks inside and sees nothing but darkness until Jonathan lights a candle and tells him he got all the proof of him poisoning and now he about to turn him in.
Come on, bro. I was just trolling, bro. I'm sorry, bro. It won't happen again. Trust, bro. I'm gonna turn myself in this time, please.
Don't listen to that bloke. He's from Ogre Street. They're known liars. Then Speedwagon goes on to tell JoJo to not trust this nigga, and he pulls out the nigga that sold Dio the poison from behind some curtains. And behind more curtains, they reveal Joestar was listening with the cops the entire time. So Dio seemingly accepts defeat and tells JoJo to be the one to handcuff him. And as soon as he gets close, he whips out the stone mask and knife in hand and attempts to stab him. But unfortunately, his father lunged in front of the attack last second, killing himself in order to protect Jonathan. Then Dio rubs his blood onto the mask and finally becomes a vampire. All the cops shoot him down and up out the window, and he seemingly dies, which we all know was Cap. Like, come on now, that's Dio. Anyways, as George is dying, we found out this whole time this nigga knew Dario was a slimy ass nigga the entire time. He tried selling the ring he stole off George, and somebody informed George that he was the one who took it all along. And while he knew that, this dumbass still decided to take in Dio. I cannot feel sorry for him, bro. But the exact moment George actually dies, they notice Dio's body has been moved, and he instantly kills one of the niggas chilling by the window. And he stands on the ledge, aura farming. He starts walking him down, but these bum ass police officers are scared to death, forcing Jonathan to grab a gun and shoot. But that shit is useless now. Dio stays standing. Then he leaps into the air and murks this no-name officer, sucking up his life force, and uses his dead body to murk the others in the process. Then Jonathan decides to lock in, grabbing this spear from a nearby statue, and at the same time, the dude that Dio sucked up wakes up as a vampire as well and is about to eat Speedwagon, but Jonathan saves him just on time. Dio charges in, but it just goes right through Dio's hand, not even affecting him, and somehow bends that shit back into Jonathan's shoulder. Dio goes on the villain monologue about how he finna do him dirty now they got these powers. Then he turns around and Jonathan's nowhere to be found. He sees blood leaking from behind some curtains, but it was a trap and flames burst from them. Jonathan's plan is to burn Dio alive to combat his regeneration ability, but it don't work. Bro regenerates way too fast. So he tells Speedwagon to stand back. He about to cook up something crazy. He places a sword on the ground to leverage himself up with a blade still in his shoulder, by the way, and he signals for Dio to come up at him. Then he walks up the wall all auriful and shit. Jonathan runs off to the roof, but Dio jumps straight through, nearly landing his attack, but Jojo barely blocks. His life flashes before his eyes before Dio counterattacks, sending him further back. He remembers every single moment that Dio ruined about his life. Hold his relationship with Arena, quite literally cooked his dog alive, made his father turn on him, and even took all of his friends. Then he charges in, slamming him right back into the house, falling gracefully into the fire. Now this nigga fall into his demise, but he still has the blade that was in his shoulder earlier, and he catches himself with it and flips on top of it, launching himself back up there with Dio and pulls him right back down. Whips out the very same knife Dio killed his father with and yams it into his side. Dio slams his arms, breaking them, but Jojo is persistent. He maneuvers his body and impales Dio with the statue from below. He gets stuck and burns alive, while Jonathan somehow gets exploded out of the house next to Speedwagon. That's that main character plot armor, I can't lie. That nigga should have died right there.
Bitch ass nigga, you made it. Yo, pussy number 1.
After the fire dies down, that one nigga that was selling Dio poison comes to the location trying to find anything valuable left behind, up until he picks up the wrong rock and finds Dio and gets murked. Later on, somehow Arena's back. They ain't even explain how after the time skip, but she's sitting here helping Jojo out since he's been injured. And they reunite while Jojo's still trying to spit game and shit. He got her fainting at his sheer presence alone. Then we cut over to Dio, and this nigga is trying to build an entire vampire army. He got that one dude who sold him drugs, and now he out here recruiting the Jack the Ripper. Yes, nigga, the real life serial killer, Jack the Ripper. And he puts a genjutsu on Jack the Ripper with his fake ass Sharingan, and he sucks the life force out of him, turning him into a vampire. Now he's under Dio's control, and from now on, every human he kills, he's gonna send him straight to Dio to feed off on in order to regain his strength he lost during the fire. Anyways, while Jojo is still recovering and out and about, he finds this dude named Zapelli who has crackhead powers. He leaps into the air and starts digging in Jonathan with his pinky, and somehow he's fully healed. He got this nigga flexing in front of the hoods holding boulders and shit. But Jonathan is surprised as hell. He like, yo, Mr. Crackhead, show me that. So Zapelli takes him over to some pond to demonstrate how he just did what he just did.
How's the water do that? He's a witch.
He basically tells him the technique he's using is called Hamon, and he must master it in order to defeat Dio. Zeppeli has been trying to track down the Stone Mask for decades, and Dio has it trying to turn hella niggas into vampires. Basically, Hamon is like you breathe a certain way and you become stronger, and you can do crazy shit with said strength. It's basically how Demon Slayer's breathing techniques are, but it's better because you can actually see what they're doing with these attacks. Jonathan hears Zeppeli telling his crackhead Yap story about the Stone Mask, and then they began training in the arts of Hamon for like a week or so. Then after all that, Zeppeli tells Jonathan about his lore with all the vampires and shit. Basically, when he was young, he went to Mexico with his father and they found a mask. On his way home, his father put on the mask and became a vampire and offed everybody on their shit. He was almost caught too after he hopped in the water up until the sun came up. Ever since then, he's been searching for ways to counter vampires. He discovered Hamon and now we here. Whole lot of yap later, Speedwagon comes up to Jonathan and he tells him he got some info on Dio. He's saying he has got to be here because a lot of people have been going missing lately, and the community has been reporting a bunch of vampire type sightings. And while they're driving, for some odd reason, their driver stops. Speedwagon goes up front to check on what's going on, and he's met with this nigga's entire head being replaced by a horse. And it turns out Jack the Ripper was hiding inside of one of the other horses, and this nigga Speedwagon freaking out to muscle.
Blimey, he's more menacing than Dio.
Zeppeli roughs him up a bit, then he sees this as a teaching opportunity for Jonathan. Pours up, gives him the drink, but it is not for drinking. He basically tells him he gotta whoop Jack the Ripper's ass without spilling the cup at all. And if he can do that, then he succeeds, and if he can't, he's gonna abandon this nigga. Jonathan accepts, then Jack comes in like he's the Green Goblin and slices up his arms. He almost drops that wand, but he locks in last second. Jack dips back into the shadows, and Jonathan thinks to himself that him holding this torch is going to make him an easy target, so he gets rid of that shit. He keeps on walking down the hall, and we see Jack the Ripper post up like a Scooby-Doo villain ready to jump scare this nigga. Jonathan finally starts to feel the Hamon energy pulsing through the wine glass, focuses it into his arm, and slams into the wall Jack the Ripper was hiding behind, effectively defeating him once and for all. And after that little quick squabble, they finally make it to the town they've been trying to get to. And so far, it seems real peaceful, but Jonathan knows this nigga Dio gotta be in the shadows somewhere plotting. And out of nowhere, this random ass little kid robs Speedwagon. And it just so happens that that bag has all the money they're traveling with. So obviously they easily catch up to him and they get their shit back. But it turns out this little nigga was hypnotized in order to lure them into this graveyard. It turns dark and these zombies start getting right to work.
Jonathan, it's him! Indubitably it is, and what of it?
Zeppeli does some dumbass pose and hits the block screws Geppo step. He charges at Dio and this nigga attempts to aura farm by blocking his shit like this. Like, bro, you did not need to bend your head that far. But fortunately, Dio doesn't understand how hormone works. So Zeppeli uses sunlight yellow overdrive, but somehow this nigga absorbs all of his hormone and starts freezing his arm in place and pops his blood vessels. Somehow this nigga flew all the way up here to intercept that, and Dio is all like,
If I'm you, I'd keep my hands to myself because you just saw me cook that nigga.
and now Zeppeli realizes that if Jonathan's arm gets frozen too, they're cooked. So he tries to sneak into his kick, but Dio is one step ahead, mutilating his entire leg. Then he pushes all of them back, ripping a piece of Jonathan's skin in the process. Then out of nowhere, Dio spawns these two high-ranking henchmen, Tarkus and Bluford.
Blue nigga.
Or Buford
Can nigga.
or some shit. I don't know. This nigga's parents was trying to be different. Anyway, these two niggas used to serve the Queen of Scotland, so they got some level of fame. So they gotta be tough in some way. Jonathan tells Poco to get the fuck out of here because shit finna get serious. And this nigga Zeppeli over here is sulking because he can't help. He really should have thought about that before charging Dio of all people with no plan. So anyway, Bruford and Jonathan get to scrapping. Bruford realizes he low-key ain't built for this, so he shifts the fight to underwater because if Jonathan can't breathe, he can't use his hormone. Now Buford ass happy as hell. He really thinks shit's sweet for real. But he tells Jonathan since he can't breathe, he won't use his sword since he believes that's fair game. And hey, at least he's a bum with honor. Then in this moment, Jonathan realizes he may be cooked. He doesn't know if he has enough time to reach the surface, take a breath, and charge up enough hormone in order to beat the enemy. But then randomly, he gets an idea to go deeper into the ocean. And somehow, he finds rocks with air pockets in them. And that alone powers him up just enough.
Nah, fam, that's mad.
Indubitably.
Bruford somehow survives and he started tweaking out and he talking about,
We're finally not underwater. Now it's time to fight with true spirit.
nigga, you were the reason y'all were underwater in the first place. Don't even play like that. Anyway, he presses up on Jojo, hitting the Kevin Gates pose, and they start clashing. Jonathan's low-key retarded, so he gets wrapped up in bro's hair and he starts manhandling him and slams him against this tree. And he can't really cut it up off of him because the way he got his arms wrapped disturbs his breathing, making him fuck up his hormone. His hair really digging at him on some shit. Bruford dives in, but Jonathan, finally realizing that his life is on the line, finally locks in and rips the ties off of his leg and clashes with him. And since metal conducts hormone, he sends a shock right to his arm, melting that shit right off the bone. And Speedwagon in the corner to awesome.
Jolly good show. He turned blocking a sword into an attack using hormone.
This nigga been narrating exactly what we see on the screen back to us like he's Dora or some shit. We can see, nigga. Anyway, Buford charges and Jonathan combos the fuck out of him, hitting him with the up, right, down, left, up, down, right, left. That shit don't do much though. This nigga blue for like John. He got a metal plate in this jaw. And he heats up and charges Jonathan once again. But this time, for whatever reason, Jonathan is not defending. And Speedwagon is like,
Mookie, watch out!
But instead of slicing straight through Jonathan, Blueface stops his sword last second. That's grazing Jonathan's cheek and he collapses. Alright, I'm low-key retarded, so let me try to explain this as best as I can. Basically, Jonathan's hormone destroyed Blueface's zombified form and restored his human soul, and that's why Jonathan stopped fighting back. And same thing for Buford. He recognized that Jonathan was a good, noble man, and he decided he shouldn't have to face the same pain he once did back in his normal life or whatever. They start yapping and chopping it up, but before Buford passes on, he decides to give to him his sword Luck, and writes on it Pluck for some reason. I don't know what that means. I'm gonna Google it real quick. Alright, that makes sense. Anyway, Jonathan's like,
Man, the stone mask is a hoe. If it weren't for that stone mask, I wouldn't have to kill that guy.
and as soon as he says that, Tarkus appears behind him and stomps out Buford's armor. He like,
You Ferd, you bitch ass nigga, you had one job. Oh my god, bro.
alright?
Man, fuck it, I'ma do it myself.
Oh hell no, you tweaking, bro.
we've got you, little one. Anyway, Tarkus split the ground and now he got them sinking and Speedwagon healed up now. He took a med kit or something and him and Jojo locked the fuck in. And somehow they make an entire platform of leaves that are below their feet. Hormone really versatile for real. What can't this shit do? But Speedwagon and Poco get on their backs and they fly off into the distance. Wait, hold on. What is this nigga doing?
Nuke the whole generation.
For some reason, Speedwagon has a random flashback during all of this, so let me just try to sum it up. The entire reason he knows what hormone is because one time when he visited India, he found some guy who could heal people with hormone. He was like, damn, that shit tough. Teach me, big bro. Then the Indian nigga was like, nah, Crody, you gonna have to find one of the Tibetan monks. So he does exactly that. He meets up with one of the Tibetan monks and he's like, nah, you're gonna die if you keep chasing that stone mask, but I'm gonna teach you anyway. Then we cut back to reality and Zeppeli's like, yeah, I think my time is coming. Hashtag soon. Tarkus randomly appears right above them, looking devious as hell. He tries to attack, but that Hamon shocks his ass. He low-key dumb. He saw that shit emitting electrical type substances. I don't know what he thought was coming to him. But then Jonathan spots this random castle-like structure thing in the mountains, and he tells everybody to jump before Tarkus gets them from behind. They land, and that nigga slams right into the wall, and Zeppeli's like,
Yes, he's dead. He's a zombie unlike Dio. He cannot regenerate, right, guys?
Yeah, nah, this nigga is alive and healthy. And he climbs out of the side of the building and starts to grip the walls with his bare hands to climb up. This nigga's something else, bro. He gotta be put down. This dude Zeppeli takes charge and he like,
Jojo, take that little nigga and hide.
that's exactly what they do. Jonathan listens, but Poco warns him. He like, be careful, big bro. This place is where knights are trained to kill. This place gotta have hella traps. But this nigga doesn't listen. He walks in and gets his body muzzled or some shit. I don't know. And this dumbass is locked right in the same room as Tarkus. And Poco low-key set this man up for failure. He literally seen Tarkus crash into this room and still let Jonathan into it. But the chains Tarkus and Jonathan are connected to is said to be some ancient sparring ground, and Tarkus is known for having to kill close to 50 niggas in this very position. And Zeppeli outside trying to punch his way in. I don't know what this nigga's thinking. He explains to us that Hamon can't be used for destruction, so he can't break in and Jonathan can't break out. So either way, he's cooked. Tarkus happy as hell too. He's talking about the only way to get out is by accessing the key on each of their necks. Tarkus basically manhandling this nigga, abusing the chain, and now Jonathan's stuck up there. Tarkus comes in and slams his leg into him, cracking a bit of his humerus in the process. Meanwhile, outside, this nigga Poco pissing himself because he's terrified. He knows if Jonathan loses, they're all doomed. But then Speedwagon notices from the inside, like right next to the door, is a lever that pulls the door open, but they have to find some way to reach it. That's when Poco sees a small entrance only he can fit in. And this shit low-key reminded me of how in the Walking Dead games, they always be making Clementine do everything, even though she be like 11 years old. Like, Kenny, you are right there and you built little. But anyway, Poco is sitting here debating to act out on his plans. Then he suddenly gets a flashback of how he was getting the equivalent of getting stuffed in lockers, wedgies, wet woolies, and swirlies, but in 1800s England. He remembers the times his sister always told him to stand up for himself and stop being a bitch, and those words hit for him, so he does exactly that and runs up and climbs through the window. Tarkus notices and instantly rushes him, but Jonathan won't allow this. He yanks the chain, only allowing Tarkus to get a kick off, but this don't do anything but motivate him. Now that Tarkus is set in place by the chain, he crawls over and finally pulls that lever so they can jump this nigga. Zeppeli walks in, but for some reason, he thinks back to what the Tibetan monks told him long ago. He is destined to die on the journey he's on with this stone mask, and he starts to think to himself,
Is this it? Is this what the old nigga was talking about? Is this the prophecy to be fulfilled now?
shit, I don't know why you asking me that. We all know he finna die anyway. They got this nigga walking up. He think he got aura. We all know that top ass squeezing the fuck out his scalp. All blood circulation being cut off and shit. Tarkus over here shit talking. He's talking about,
y'all some lame niggas, bro. Oh god, y'all trying to jump me. And y'all got homo powers, bro. I don't got shit.
He starts to charge Zeppeli, but he low-key clean with it, dodging these attacks with pure elegance. Tarkus getting tight, but he don't care. He's still doing extra shit, bouncing off the wall, spinning like a Beyblade. But Tarkus flash steps last second, appears directly above him, somehow wrapping this nigga up in the chain. Tarkus low-key different, bro. He's strangling Jonathan and got Zeppeli wrapped up at the same exact time. Speedwagon, do something. Low-key, bro, this nigga Speedwagon was with him the entire time they was training Hamon, and you mean to tell me he learned and picked up on absolutely nothing? That's where they hold him. But anyway, this nigga Tarkus is pulling hard as shit. Zeppeli can't conduct enough Hamon since his breathing has been disrupted. Then he yanks on his shit, cutting Zeppeli completely in half.
Lord Dio, I have done it. I've executed both of them as you have ordered.
But fortunately, he's wrong. Jonathan wasn't completely strangled to death. He's still living. He goes in to finish him once and for all, but before he does any of that, Zeppeli, with his last living seconds remaining, decides to grant Jonathan all of his Hamon energy. Tarkus is mad as shit now. He goes in to stomp Zeppeli out one last time, but it is too late. That nigga Jonathan yanks him by the chain, has him hanging in the air, and forcefully rips off the neck brace out of sheer hatred, plus the power boost he gained from Zeppeli. And then he stands over this nigga. He got him scared for his life. And then he tells him he willingly sold his soul to Dio, and that's going to turn out to be the biggest mistake of his life. Tarkus charges up at him, but Jonathan just got that side character death stat boost, so he easily blocks his shit, grabs the chain, and rips his arm clean off. Tarkus backs up, and Jonathan starts to pray for this man for what he's about to do to him. He ain't trying to hear all that, so he runs at him and spits his teeth in his face, but that don't do nothing. Jonathan just double pumps his shit, melting his face in the process. And this nigga Zeppeli was talking about how Hamon isn't destructive. Nigga was lying for what? After he knocked Tarkus off the map, he went to go talk to Zeppeli for one last time, and as he's holding him in his arms crying, Zeppeli tells him not to shed tears over his death, since he's content with the way and the timing of his death, and to focus on defeating Dio and destroying the stone mask once and for all.
Meanwhile,
Please, Dio. Please spare my child at least.
Man, fuck you and fuck them kids too.
Please, Dio, I need this.
Eat that nigga right now.
Yeah, this nigga is sick. Meanwhile, ever since Zeppeli died, Jonathan been locked the fuck in. He ain't crack a smile or take a break yet. He will find Dio and he will destroy him. And then they meet up with these 3 people who are friends of Zeppeli. This absolute bum from part 2, Strizo. Y'all gonna see why he a bum whenever I make a part 2 video. But he's in the group. We got a Tibetan monk Hamon teacher who taught Zeppeli everything he knows. And this random dude named Dyer. Nobody really give a fuck about Dyer. He retarded. I don't know why these niggas couldn't have pulled up before Zeppeli died, but it's whatever. Anyway, they bring Poco home finally, and from the outside they can hear this nigga getting his ass beat. He came home early just to see if his sister was okay, and it turns out she went out late looking for him and hasn't been back since. And it turns out, of course, Dio has snatched her up in the process. He's trying to turn her into one of his zombie minions, but she like, hell nah, fuck that, and slaps his ass. And when that happens, he's so offended that he decides to let one of his underling eat her or some shit. He tracks her down and he starts to devour, but before he can make contact, he gets rocked in the back of his head, and the goat is finally here. And so are his friends, I guess. I don't care about the niggas, but they whoop this weirdo with 0 difficulty, and then they finally make their way up to where Dio resides.
Dio, I've come to stop you once and for all.
No, Jonathan, let me handle this. I don't know what he was expecting, bro. He got packed up faster than Tsunade's little brother. After witnessing Dyer die to Dio like that, Jonathan gets enraged once more and grabs a sword that Buford gave him after their final battle and infuses it with Hamo. Dio starts hissing for some reason, and he sends his zombies to attack, but Tibetan Monkman and Strizo start to fend them off while Speedwagon kind of just sits there. And finally, Dio jumps at Jonathan and he starts talking shit and throws roses in his face to obscure his vision, I guess. I don't know what the plan was there. But before Dyer got clipped, he spat in Dio's face with a rose, and now he can only see out of one of his eyes. Jonathan uses this to his advantage and charges his blind spot, slicing straight through his arm, cutting that bitch off. And he follows it up with a slash straight down his skull, nearly cutting this man fully in half. We think Jonathan is him, he's almost won. But in the last second, Dio throws Jonathan from the sword all the way to his body, sticks his nasty ass fingers in his neck, and attempts to transform him into one of his zombie minions. He weird as hell. He started playing with this nigga's ligaments and shit. Then he goes in to kick him. Jonathan tries to block with his free leg, but that shit gets frozen too, and now he's completely stuck and it is not looking good. The fight practically just started and he's already losing. Speedwagon tries to be helpful for once, but Dio orders his zombies to keep them niggas back or else. But Jonathan is calm, cool, and collected. That nigga is not phased, and Dio realizes this entire time he's had his sword in the fire behind him and it's melting the ice faster than he can freeze it. He pushes Jonathan off and this nigga wastes no time yamming his fist right at him, but that shit doesn't go as planned. As soon as his fist made contact, his hand froze, and Dio proceeds to somehow reconnect his arm back together and mush his limbs against himself. This vampire is shit way too OP, bro. He needs to be nerfed, but Jonathan is determined. This means nothing to him. He squares right back up, and Jonathan's perseverance angers Dio, and he starts shit talking him again. He launches himself right at him, but Jonathan is not afraid. He charges up his arm with Hamon and sets his glove on fire and does a 360 for style points, and then they clash, and Dio is trying his hardest not to be hit by the fire, but he finally guard breaks Dio, punching him straight in his chest and filling his whole body with Hamon, and just like that, Dio starts to disintegrate.
Please, bro, Jonathan, undo it, bro. I was trolling. Let me live. Man, fuck this shit.
And once and for all, Jonathan finally catches a dub and defeats Dio. This fucking bitch ass nigga from before saved Dio again. What do you owe this nigga, bruh? Stop licking his boots. Somebody gotta kill you. Anyways, Jonathan's squad think they done did it. They celebrate by destroying the stone mask once and for all and burning Dio's remains, minus his head because that one nigga took it. Then months down the line, Jonathan's living his best life. He just married his girl and he's about to go on his honeymoon. Life looking good as hell right now. Him and his girl on a cruise ship, and he takes her on this fancy dinner date and everything. He's splurging and shit. But then midday, he peeps Dio's dealer in the back looking mad suspicious. This nigga's in pure shock, and he pieces 2 and 2 together and figures out that Dio is somehow still alive and tells his girl to go to their room and lock the door. And after he leaves, it seems Dio injected some of the passengers in order to turn them into zombies as well. Jonathan follows where his dealer went and he finds him right along with Dio's dome in hand.
Look what you did to me, nigga. I was trolling the whole time, bro. I wasn't gonna kill you for real, but you just had to ruin it for yourself. I respected you, Jojo, but as you can see, you left me without a body, and you were 6'5", 230. I'ma need that.
And he instantly shoots his laser eye, stabbing Jonathan straight through the neck. And the moment that happens, Ariana also entered the room. Dio like, oh shit, you remember me, don't you? I stole your first kiss. Then suddenly the zombies from earlier start to overthrow the entire ship, catching everybody and multiplying. This one zombie approaches this woman and her baby and knocks her off as she falls to the wall. But thankfully the baby still survives, and this baby is Lisa, by the way, fun fact. Dio's dealer goes in to attack Ariana, but Jonathan realizes that the ship is gonna get overtaken by zombies anyway. So he snipes his ass using the last bit of hormone left inside his body and falls into the mechanism that powers the entire ship. He tells Ariana to get back because the ship is going to explode soon. But she like, nah, I'm gonna die with you. But Jonathan points towards the baby right in front of them and tells her to save it and protect it, since he just saw his mother save it before dying, much like his very own mother did for him. She's like, I bet, kisses him goodbye, and Dio's like, oh, you plan to expose this shit on us? Hell no. And he orders his zombies to get old dude's body out of the gears, but it's too late. The shit is already starting to explode. Jonathan shields Ariana from the explosion like the good man he is. Then Dio grips up this nigga's neck and tells Ariana to look while Jonathan cannot defend himself while he takes his body. But Jonathan is not giving up. He rips one of the shards out of his body and stabs Dio right in the neck with it, lowers him down, and hugs Dio's head while the ship is on fire and about to combust. He tells Ariana to hop in the coffin to survive, and the ship explodes, ending his life, and allegedly Dio's in the process, while his family survives. And that right there is the end of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Phantom Blood. I'm not gonna lie, this shit took way too long to make. I thought I was gonna be like a little 15-minute video, but I don't know what happened, bro. I was tweaking. Anyways, join the Discord. I'm gonna be giving out future video updates in there since you niggas keep commenting and asking me when I'm gonna drop. But after this, trust, I'm gonna be consistent. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, she got sweet. Hello. Okay, she got big. Hello. Okay, she got clay. Hello. Okay, she got hay. Hello. Ooh, I like her tone. Okay. Shawty say she home. Okay. Got her out that thong. Okay. Made her silly.